Well, every story must begin somewhere, and this story begins now. Welcome along to Portimao for round 3 of the Realistic tier in the Breakout Racing League Season 7 campaign, the Portuguese Grand Prix. Portugal, then, the site of tonight's Grand Prix, the oldest country in Europe, and Portimao, the city in which the circuit resides, is the second largest in the Algarve. We have a lot of heritage and stories for a Grand Prix that has been absent from the Formula 1 calendar for the over 15 years. Thanks to the Algarve circuit, it's back and ready for some BRL racing tonight. Speaking of the Algarve circuit, the Autódromo Nacional de Algarve has 15 corners, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, which makes up the 4.653 kilometer, 2.841 mile. The circuit has 2 DRS zones entering turn 1 and entering turn 6 and 5 in that little hairpin and the entry of the middle sector. Well, another big factor will be the tires. The circuit recently repaved will be difficult to find grips. So the selection of the C3, C2, and the C1 tires, the hardest of the Pirelli range, will be traction dependent, but make it even more difficult at the same time. The C3 red wool, C2 yellow wool, C1 mediums, with the red being the softs, the yellow being the mediums, and the C1 white wool tires being the hards, plus the intermediate and full wets, which we have on today for this qualifying session. This is going to be imperative that these drivers get a great qualifying session. Could we have a full wet Grand Prix? We'll have to figure that one out in the coming moments. Let's talk about the championship then. After an incredible Chinese Grand Prix, the championship lead has reduced. Moo and the Red Bull team ahead of Cookie by only 4 points. After his incredible win, UnsightedPort in the McLaren moves up to 3rd in the championship. 1 point adrift and ahead of Bailey's AlphaTauri in 4th. Deer Hunter sits 5th with 22 points to his name, 4 points clear of the McLaren of John in 6th. 7th sits the Aston Martin of Minico, who is tied with the second AlphaTauri of Taylor Clan, both at 16 points. A gap of 12 points then sits the Daytona in 9th, with Tweaking running out the top 10 in the Haas. Great showing through the first 2 races for him. Enough of the drivers. The constructors also took a big hit after China. McLaren now leads 49 points, 9 clear of AlphaTauri in 2nd. That is the top 2 teams, and 2 that you did not expect going into this season so far. The sister team Red Bull trails AlphaTauri by 4 points with 36 points to her name, 5 points ahead of Ferrari in 4th. Mercedes leads Aston Martin in 4th and 5th with 24 and 20 points respectively. Haas then leads the battle for the back markers in 7th with 2 points to their name, 18 behind Aston, but Alpha sits 1 point adrift of Haas, not making it too difficult and not making it easy to breathe for the Haas team. We're on board with Ardell and the Alfa Romeo now. Hopefully he can give that team a boost that they needed. With Williams and Alpine having yet to score, they sit 9th and 10th with 0 points respectively. Now I'm Heikatra up on the booth running solo like it was a week ago. But enough of me rambling. The fastest laps and the first laps of qualifying are starting to be set. Like, for example, we have Ardell in the Alfa Romeo going through turn 8, which is going to be the difficult point of the circuit so far. You see him squirreling, trying to find grip on the intermediate tires. Larson Fan's been given disqualified from the session, blocking the pit lane. That is not what the Alfa Romeo needed so far this session. But, well, the other one is going to have a little bit of a difficult time so far. We'll see how Ardell can do in his first opening laps. Going around into the final 3 sequence of corners. 15 corners here. He's going through turn 13 now into 14. It's difficult. You got to find the traction. So hopefully Ardell can do that going through. The first laps may be starting to get done, and that is true. Minico and the Aston Martin 27.881. That is going to be the time these guys have to chase in Q1. We'll see what Ardell can do in the Alfa Romeo. He's going to go up to line 28.6, about 8 tenths or so behind the Aston Martin. Like I said, Cookie, he started off really well in the first 2 Grand Prix with 2 podiums respectively. The only driver who's done that. He's finished 3rd both times. He's now invalidated right now, so he's not going to have a lap going on now. Deer Hunter, he's going to have to try to rebound for Mercedes having a poor Grand Prix a week ago in China. He needs to try to go and get some points on the board and some quality points to that rather. DRC Jared, that is going to be a name if you are familiar with the Formula 1 community. He is back, and he's full-time. We have a little bit of a dropping and a shuffling around in the Alpine lineup. Gutido has dropped the tier and will no longer be running in the Alpine. That duty is going to go to DRC Jared in the Alpine as Bailey sets the fastest lap so far in qualifying here in Q1, 27.686. for him, with KP21 getting a 30.338 in the Williams respectively. BRL Phantom, that's the other new driver we have signed so far this season. And the Red Bull is now the third driver who's been contracted to the second seat. It's been almost considered a curse. Well, so far, Phantom's proven that wrong. 26.978. Phantom is now going to be topping the leaderboards here in qualifying. Cookie goes around the exit of turn 4 before the second DRS drone, which is not active this time because of the wet weather running. So will we see the DRS in the Grand Prix? We'll have to figure that one out. Like I said, Deer Hunter has to have a good race going on as well. Let's see what they can do. Notona, he's back. He missed China, so that's going to be a round he's going to have to wish and claw back from. He's going to try to go and get some points, which he did not too long ago. He sits ninth in the Constructors' Championship, in the Drivers' Championship with with Aston Martin getting their fight with Mercedes. It's a close fight there, so they're going to try to get and claw back some of those points they lost. Speaking of Mercedes, Zach the Beast goes provisional pole, 26.2, 7/10 ahead of Phantom in the Red Bull. Fiore, John, Domino, Ferrari Nut, and Supply Raptor all in the pits. Well, we have Supply Raptor reserving for Ed Tronha in the Ferrari. That's going to be a lap going up. That, I believe, may have been Taylor 35.1 and Daytona 34.9. Both those guys got their laps in now. But UnsightedPort, he's the driver that's coming off of a Grand Prix victory a week ago. That's going to be the driver you need to look out for. Well, he showed his mark, and he's gotten purple sector 1 so far this session. Can he hold it up for the rest of the lap? He's the championship rival. He's the championship leader right now. Once again, he had a poor race. He was leading the Chinese Grand Prix before with about 8 or so laps to go. Had a little bit of a mishap going through in the middle sector on the exit of turn 8, got into the barriers, and got a little bit of front wing damage. Little known to us at the time, but now he is going to have to fight back, getting P5. That is definitely not where he wanted from 1st to 5th. That is going to be a very, very big comeback he has to get. 4 points ahead of the Ferrari, a Boss Cookie. Ferrari Nut needs to have some points on the board, which he was absent a week ago at China. He's going to try to go and claw back. He had a DNF in the opening 5 laps at Bahrain. He's yet to score. He needs to get a good finish in for Alpine, and Alpine needs to get some points on the board. That's something they have yet to do through 2 rounds. They're looking to do that. Speaking of points, Haas has 2 points on the board, both with I Am Tweaking, and that's going to be something that these guys have to keep in mind, because Tweaking wants more. He wants some points. He wants to show good for Haas and for his team manager, Mort Ethab. So he's going to try to do the best he can so far this Grand Prix. Into turn 1, the Haas is going to look for it and keep it valid. That's going to be what's right on board with Tweaking, as he has a little bit of traffic in front of him. And that looks like it may have been a little bit of an impediment from VRA John. Will that be put on later? We'll have to figure that one out, but that's going to be already this lap done and dusted for Tweaking in the Haas. John now gets out of the way. He was coming out of the pit lane. He was on an out lap, so maybe we'll have a steward inquiry. Hopefully not. The other McLaren Port is going to be getting out of his way off the track on the exit turn. Oh, no! Into the barriers, hard in the wall, and that's going to be some front wing damage and maybe even some side pod and barge board if he's not careful. That is going to be a poor showing so far. That is not what Tweaking needs, and he's going to have a lot of work to do. Meanwhile, back at the front, Port actually set a P2 lap with a 26.734, 5/10 adrift of the Mercedes of Zach the Beast, but crucially, he's about about what? Trying to do math in my head is not really working out too well. About 18 milliseconds ahead of Moo in the Red Bull, who's next invalidated, but also for Zach's sake, crucially 7 almost ahead of his teammate Deer Hunter. That's going to be one crucial thing they need to worry about for. Jared up to P9 in the Alpine. That's going to be a good showing and good qualifying lap banker for him. Cookie, speaking of bankers, he needs to get a little bit better one. He's purple through middle sector, going into turn 13 now. He's going to have this left into the right, into the flat, right in the dry. Will it be flat so far in the wet? Taylor's out of qualifying. He has crashed at the exit of turn 1. The Alpine is already going, the AlphaTauri, is going to be a little bit on the back foot, 27.3. That is going to be a lap. Oh, that stays valid for Cookie, and that's good enough for him for P5 and a 26.9. So that is now the 3rd driver, Phantom, Cookie, and Deer Hunter, all to get into the 26.9. So that's going to be a close fight up there for the battle for 3rd. Zach retired. Did he retire in the pit lane? Yes, he did, because he's still at the top of the leaderboard, so that's going to be the Merc done and dusted. Wrathful, the other Haas, as we saw Tweaking going into the pit lane, he's now going to be on his lap as he goes through the tricky left and double right here and turn, I believe, 11 Yes, right now in turn 11, running a little bit wide is going to be very much of a killer for some of these guys and validating their laps. Wrathful does not do that. Into turn 13 he goes. He just needs a couple more corners to get his lap on the board. Right now, the lap to beat for the cutoff zone is a 27.309 set by Taylor in the Alpha Tauri. That's going to be one lap that these guys are going to have to try to beat. Hopefully, they're going to bank on a little bit of rubbering of the track and a little bit less rain to hopefully achieve that mark. You see going across the line now, and that's going to be P13, 30.3, and that's going to be another driver up. I believe Ferrari Nut actually crossed the line as well, who's actually retired out of the Grand Prix as well. He's crashed out. I believe that is the exit of turn 5, where Tweaking had the same problem. That's now Ferrari Nut, a 28.4. That's going to be very crucial. And you saw him passing by as Noodle went past him a second ago. Yes, Wrathful is going to be P16 at the moment, but Ferrari Nut and Taylor Clan are both out of qualifying, and that's going to be another driver who thinks he's safe, and that is going to be Minico, 27.3 P9 at the moment. Well, with the only drivers left basically in the cutoff zone being Daytona, who should rightfully go up into the top 15, and the Aston Martin has a little bit of pace. We'll see if he can do that. Tweaking realistically should not due to the Haas's nature in the pecking order, but he's shown he can get a lot of good time out of that car. Excuse me, if he can get the right laps. So that's going to be one thing he's going to work on. Wrathful, he's on the cutoff line right now. He's going to be the first one out. P16, 30.3. He's about 4.6 ahead of Daytona in the Aston Martin. That's going to be one lap Daytona wants to get back. Dom the Noodle is going to be pitting as well. 6 minutes left in Q1, so that's going to be a lot of drivers choosing to either kind of negate their losses, like, for example, Taylor and Ferrari Nut, who have actually crashed out of qualifying here in Q1. And like a Larson fan who's been disqualified for blocking the pit lane, that's going to be one thing that's going to have to crucially help him out. That's one thing that, as we've seen, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that is now the third consecutive Grand Prix that an Alfa Romeo has started from the P20 position. A week ago, it was Avi. He got some good finish, and it got up to, I believe, P16, which is a great finish and a great, charge to the field for that Alfa Romeo. Larson's going to look to do the same. He's gotten 1 point a couple weeks ago in Bahrain, where he got P10, and then he got P11 in the Ferrari when he was heard from Ed Tronha in China. Hopefully he wants a little bit more better showing than P11. He wants to try to charge from 20th up to the points. That'll be a tough challenge, but it can be done. Meanwhile, Daytona, I said he should realistically get in the top 15. He did, 28.169, a little bit of a lockup and squirrely moment through into turn 5 and 6 for Tweaking. And the Haas, he's P19 at the moment. His teammate, 30.3. That's going to be the time he now looks to beat, just based off of the teammate head-to-head. He's actually out-qualified his teammate so far, 2-0 in the first 2 rounds of the Grand Prix. He's done the same in the race. He's 2-0 in comparison to Wrathful. Well, Dom the Noodle is going to be on an outlap. He's going to try to go look for it again. The 2 Williams and the 2 Haas's are out so far of Q1, with the only driver that is kind of, disrupting that pattern being Larson fan in the Alfa Romeo 20th. Once again, he is disqualified from the session. That's a yellow flag, and that is Daytona, I believe, spinning round. Raptor, look at that lap from the Ferrari, 26.4, and Daytona's been given a 5-place grid penalty collision with Deer Hunter. Deer Hunter's now out of the Grand Prix as well. He's now out of qualifying. That's going to be a huge loss for Mercedes, because they needed this good qualifying session, and that is not at all what they got. Tweaking a 28.4, that is doable. He is only 8 milliseconds off of Ferrari Nut. Does he have enough time? Does he have enough fuel? Does he have enough left on the track to get that 8 milliseconds? We'll have to figure that one out. His teammate Wrathful, 29.9. He has improved a little bit and up to P17. KP21 is now in 18th. On the Noodle, still looking for a little bit of time on the board. Now on his outlap, about to go cross the line to start his flying lap in a couple seconds' time. Right now, Ardell in P12 is going to be the last driver who actually can compete in Q1, who is still on the track. He's right now going through with a 28.2, which is, if we're looking off of his comparison to Deer Hunter, about 2 seconds slower, but once again, Deer Hunter's out of qualifying, so that's going to be P13 and the starting spot for him. Actually, it may be a little bit higher. Daytona has been given a 5-place grid penalty. Not sure exactly what happened between those two. We'll have to go look a little bit later on if we can, but that's going to be huge for Deer Hunter. Once again, out of Q1. He's not had very much success so far in qualifying. Remember back to Bahrain, he was eliminated out of Q2, qualifying 11th, and getting out-qualified by his teammate. Well, he kind of fixed that problem in China and got a front row start. Well, unfortunately, that didn't really last long. He had a little bit of a contact, and he ended up finishing P8 that race. And once again, now he's crashed out of Q1, so he will technically make through into Q2, but once again, he will not be able to participate through in Q2. So this, once again, a not great stretch of qualifying for that Mercedes. Meanwhile, the other Mercedes is having a little bit better of a turn than it was a week ago. Zach, once again, got into P5, I believe, in qualifying, and that is something that he wanted to replicate again at 26.2. Definitely some blistering pace, but Raptor right now is the biggest name up there. The Ferrari 26.4. If you go look, he's out-qualified his teammate Cookie so far. This is Q1, though, so it's still a lot of time and a lot of laps left to be on the board. Speaking of laps, Dom the Noodle goes around turn 14 in the Williams. He's going to go into we'll have to see in a couple seconds. We'll never know what position he's going to go into. Around into turn, actually out of turn 15, to the line he goes. Will he get? Yes, he will. 30.1, about a tenth and a bit clear of his teammate KP21, and that is going to be Williams in 18th and 19th respectively. A minute and actually a little bit less than 2 minutes to be exact left in Q1, and once again another driver has retired in the pit lane. I believe Bailey has done it, and it may have been Phantom and UnsightedPort as well. Those guys aren't not UnsightedPort, but Phantom has definitely done it. But that is some big names so far in the top 5. I mean, you see Zach the Beast out-qualifying his teammate for the second time. The qualifying head-to-head will be 2-1 in favor of Zach the Beast, and it's going to be something crucial for his chance to stay in that drive, in that seat, especially for the Brackley team. Well, if you go look in the rest of it, though, I mean, you see Raptor ahead of Boss Cookie, you see Phantom ahead of Moo. Those guys in the top 3 definitely showing it. They're showing a little bit of pace. Whoa, Dom the Noodle lost a little bit of time going into turn 10 there. You see his teammate KP21 ahead of him. These guys need to get out of the bottom 5. Can they do it? Going to the line, tweaking, I think it was. It may have been actually, no, it was tweaking. He's going to start his flying lap in the Haas. The checkered flag is going to fly in a few seconds' time. More drivers have returned to the pit lane. I believe that is VRA John. Rathfull's retired, and that is on circuit. Exeter turn 4. He's now out of qualifying. That is not what the Haas team needed, but Rath will sit P17. Will it stay there for long? You see KP21 and Dom the Noodle both on laps. Will they improve? They improve, but not a position-wise. Dom the Noodle is less than a tenth off of Wrathful in P17. He's going to have one final go at it. Well, the only driver who's outside the bottom 5 who's on an active flying lap, those two, the Williams, are starting a flying lap. Let's see what tweaking can do. Going through turn 8 is treacherous and very important that these guys get this right. This track is going to be so unforgiving, especially through the wet. Those drivers have to worry about that turn 8 track. Oh, no, that's going to be it for him and it for Haas in qualifying. Tweaking got on the curb, and that's going to be him out of qualifying 2-1. Checkered flags flying and flown, and that's Raptor done, Moo done. That's going to be it for qualifying. That's going to be tweaking out, Wrathful out, Larson Fan out, Dom the Noodle and KP21 is going to be the only 2 drivers that can dethrone those guys, especially up in P15. Ferrari Nut is not safe. He is only 8 milliseconds behind, or I'm sorry, ahead of tweaking in the Haas. So if these guys in the Williams can do it, Dom the Noodle and KP21 respectively, if they can get up about a second, maybe even 2 in the case of KP21, we could have a Williams into Q2. Yellow flag, turn 15 is tweaking off, I believe, or going a little bit slowly. We'll have to see. These two are almost nose to turn when it comes to qualifying. And Dom the Noodle's out of qualifying. He just invalidated in the exit of turn 14. It's going to be up to KP21. Can we have a Williams in qualifying for the 3rd race running in Q2? Yeah, no, we cannot. We have, though, a staggered Haas and Williams grid with 16th tweaking, 17th KP21, 18th Wrathful Dom the Noodle, and 19th Larson Fan, and 20th. But that means Ferrari Nut survives into P15 and into Q2. However, he will not be able to participate in that session. Well, qualifying 1 is now complete, and we're waiting for the drivers to get reversed back into their own garages. We have Zach the Beast ahead of Supply Raptor, 26.2. That's the lap we're all looking at. That is going to be provisional pole as it may, but once again, we have still Q2 and Q3. Could it dry up? Could the rain get heavier? We'll have to figure that one out. Phantom, P3, UnsightedPort, P4 with Moo and P5, Cookie, P6. That is a pretty interesting top 6 so far. Bailey P7, Minico P8, DRC Jared in his first showing in the Alpine P9, John P10, BRL Odell, a reserve for Alfa Romeo for Carbon this week, is into P11 and great showing for Q2 there. Daytona in P12, but for how much longer? The 5-place grid penalty he applied for a collision with Deer Hunter, which may or may not have put him out of qualifying. You see, Deer Hunter was 19 milliseconds off a pole, according to what it was. So, I mean, that's just unfortunate for him and for Mercedes. Taylor Clan in P14 also crashed out of qualifying. Ferrari Nut in P15. Those guys are safe, but they cannot participate in Q2. Tweaking, KP21, Wrathful, Dom Noodle, and Larson Fan all are out of Q1. All right, once again, rain persists here in qualifying 2, so that means intermediate tires may go on once again, so that's going to be crucial in these drivers' tire selection. So if it rains in the race, well, they're going to all have tire selection and a free choice of tire, but now we're going to have 12 drivers participating in qualifying 2 here in Portimao for round 3 of the Realistic Championship in the Breakout Racing League and in the Season 7 campaign. We have an AlphaTauri that is going to be Bailey out on the circuit. He's going to be the first one, followed by, I believe that is a Ferrari. No, it's an Alfa Romeo. That is BRL Ardell. So these guys are going to have to do the best they can. There's only 2 people who will get eliminated from qualifying 2 since the 3 of Deer Hunter, of Taylor Clan, and of Ferrari Nut crashed out of qualifying 1. If it was by themselves or was it with a little bit of help, we'll have to figure that one out in due time. But once again, they cannot participate. So meaning only 2 drivers may get out of qualifying 2. So we'll see who exactly can get there. And in the chat below, if you don't mind, go predict who you have out of qualifying 2, because the top 10 shootout will be pertaining pretty closely after this in about 13 minutes time. So right now, Cookie, he's going to have a little bit of ground to fill up if he wants to go and catch up to his teammate Raptor or to provisional pole sitter from a Q1, Zach the Beast and the Mercedes. Once again, he's going to look and pretty much fight for that drive. Over the course of the week, we've had a couple rumors go up. We had, for example, in the Mercedes, they're not very happy with the drivers' performances so far. Neymar, the team principal for the Mercedes-AMG Petronas Motorsport and Formula 1 team, is Deer and Zach. He got them and signed them this season for 10 races, and that's been a little controversial because he is not very He's not very high approval rating of these 2 drivers' performance, and that's going to be crucial in forms of Zach. So if he can grab a great finish tonight, and actually if he can even get pole, that'll probably help his case. Right now, once again, he's going to out-qualify Deer Hunter, his teammate, for the 2nd time this season in 3 races. Qualifying head-to-head is 2-1, but however, the race is the problem. He's now being out-raced by Deer Hunter 0-2, with Deer Hunter getting a podium in Bahrain and Deer Hunter getting 1 position in China. So keep an eye out for that, I guess you could say, black silver arrow going through turn 15. Zach's going to have a lot of weight on his shoulders so far this Grand Prix and this session tonight. So that's going to be huge. Yellow flag sector 1. That looks like it may be a Ferrari of Raptor letting drivers go. Oh, maybe close. Nope. Luckily, he has no one else behind him. Phantom also on an outlap as well. Both Red Bulls going to have to try to rebound. Once again, they are 3rd in the championship in a season where their only rival, realistically, is Mercedes. So that's going to be a huge thing for those guys, as they have to try and get some points on the board from the 2nd car. That's been the biggest issue. We had the 2nd driver, ironically, was me, in Bahrain, crash out in the opening stages of the race in last Grand Prix a week ago. In China, we had Mitchie, who scored 1 point, I believe it was. But once again, all that goes back onto Moo. He scored 35 points. Red Bull has 36 points. So they need a little bit more points from the 2nd driver and the 2nd car. So we'll see what Phantom can do. Once again, he's looking pretty strong. Phantom has a really great performance history so far at this track when we've seen him in qualifying and in practice and in preparation for this race. So keep an eye on Phantom. Bailey goes 27.1. That's provisional pole for the AlphaTauri, ahead of the Alfa Romeo of Ardell, 28.0. Port 25.8. That is definitely quicker than it was a session ago. John 27.5. That is a little bit way off of UnsightedPort. Jared 27.9 in P4 in the Alpine. That's going to be a big thing for Alpine, is getting some points again. They had a good chance a week ago at China. It just didn't hold off too well. McLaren, though, that has been the biggest story. Is like last week, they had a pretty great performance with UnsightedPort, and it was not necessarily what everyone would have predicted. So UnsightedPort winning the race, even after his deficit of 15 seconds with about 8 laps to go to Moo. Can he hold on in Portimao? He said it's going to be difficult, but there was also another driver on that podium who's been there before, Cookie. When we talked to him in the podium interviews a week ago, he said there was a lot of opportunity. It's going to be a lot of possibilities. Let's see how much possibilities he can, take advantage of going into this Grand Prix. You see the flashing lights indicating the rain lights on the drivers' cars. You see in this case, it's Supply Raptor and the Ferrari. Everyone else is on track except for the other Ferrari, a Boss Cookie. Let's go back to the top three, though. Port, we said that 25.8, but go look at MooMoo, 26.4, Zach, 26.6, Minico, 27.0, Bailey, 27.1. It's close between Aston and Alpha Tauri, my bad. Once again, like I said a week ago, there has been a little bit of a rivalry brewing, apparently, to some guys in the paddock between Alpha Tauri and Aston Martin. We'll see how that plays out. But there's also a bit of a rival between McLaren and literally everyone, which is kind of ironic. But we'll have to figure that one out as the guys go and lay it out. So McLaren, I don't know. They've seen more as the team for some reason that everyone has a little bit of an agenda against. We'll have to see. Not exactly sure why, but once again, you can't always like the team that's doing the best, and that's right now what McLaren is doing, and the lead of the championship for the Constructors' Championship by 9 points over Alpha Tauri. So we'll have to figure that one out for John and for UnsightedPort. Once again, already a win for McLaren in the first 2 rounds, where it took them about half the season a season ago. So that's going to be a big thing for McLaren and for the UnsightedPort machine. So we'll have to figure that one out. Yellow flag through in the second straight. That was, I believe, Boss Cookie. No, it may have been Supply Raptor letting by the Red Bull. I think of BRL Phantom. So right now, Phantom in P6, 27.0. That is 1/100th off of the Aston Martin in P5. Well, Raptor just showed what he could do. Once again, P2. That's the second session so far in a row that the Ferrari of Raptor has shown that much pace on these green intermediate tires. We'll see what he can do a week ago. Unfortunately, he did not have the same success in his Chinese Grand Prix. We'll have to figure that one out, what he can do through the rest of this session and into Q3. Once again, these drivers, this is not the shootout. And even though everyone is on the same tires, it's going to be a who can get in to Q3, but once again, the tires, you can throw that out the window. Everyone who gets into Q3 this race, everyone, period, the entire 20 drivers in the entire grid will have a free choice of tires since we had a wet qualifying session. There is no mandatory Q3 rule going into the Grand Prix in a few moments' time. It's just choose whatever you want. You could have guys choosing the C1s, the C2s, or the C3s, the soft, medium, or the hard, but some guys do not prefer those hards. They believe it is not the correct race tire. We'll have to figure that one out. We see a lot of C2 mediums. We could see a lot of C3 soft tires. We'll have to see how that pans out in that moment in time. But there's still 7 minutes left in qualifying too, so there's still a decent amount, about 17 minutes or so to be exact, left in qualifying across the 2 sessions. Right now, Cookie sets a provisional purple sector 2. Can he go and match the McLaren of UnsightedPort? Ferrari and McLaren in real life have a little bit of a battle going up. It's close between those two for the battle for third in the championship. Could we see something like that tonight? Boss Cookie, once again, only driver in the top 3 who's actually gotten podiums both races in a row. Actually, he's the only driver in the entire grid who's gotten 2 podiums consecutively. Well, Cookie goes up to P2, so once again, we will have it. We'll have 2 Ferraris chasing down the McLaren so far in this Q2 session. Port ahead of Cookie, ahead of Raptor, ahead of the Alpha Tauri of Bailey. That's a big showing for the Alpha Tauri camp. Once again, they are second in the championship behind McLaren. So Alpha Tauri looking strong like they did a season ago. We actually had a chance to speak to the race engineer of AlphaTauri, being Bois 88, and he said that once so far this season, it's just been pretty easy to work with both Bailey and to Taylor. Unfortunately, Taylor not in this session. They seem to complement each other, and it makes him job, what he says, a lot easier. That's going to be a lot of pressure going on these two drivers throughout this Grand Prix, especially on Taylor. Can he fight through the field? But let's going on to his predictions. He said he wanted to be top 5 in the championship in the Constructors this season, like they were a season ago at AlphaTauri, although it's not run by the same two heads as it is this season. But go look at where they are now compared to where they predicted to be. P5 compared to P2. That's a pretty big gain and a pretty big shock for the AlphaTauri camp, especially ahead of the sister team in Red Bull, Moo and Phantom. Once again, now they're pairing at Milton Keynes. You got to see what they can do so far and try and catch up to McLaren. They are 13 points back through. That may not sound like a lot, but over the course of the season, if mistakes keep happening like they did at China, it could be a lot greater. We'll see what Moo and what Phantom can do right now. P5, P6 for the two Red Bull racing cars. Go look at Zach in P7, 26.6. Once again, he's not come out for a second lap, but he doesn't need to necessarily, so he needs to try and get into Q3 and not take unnecessary risks like what happened to Deer Hunter, running really wide at the exit of turn 15 and staying valid. That's going to be Moo. He goes provisional 8 with about 64 milliseconds of leeway ahead of UnsightedPort in the McLaren. Right now, the only two drivers on track, ironically, are next to each other. We have Jared, who's invalidated his lap, but ahead of him, the Aston Martin of Minico. Both these drivers on the cut line, with Minico being one above, Jared being one below. They want to try and go and make sure, not only in Minico's sake to make sure he's safe, but Jared wants to get in, period. So Jared has done 5 laps on those intermediate tires, which is not necessarily going to be the quickest way around the Algarve circuit here. But we'll have to see. Right now, 2/10 separates those two drivers, as the yellow flag, actually Jared has spun off or gapped and created a little bit of distance between him and the Aston Martin of Minico. So, once again, another purple sector 2. It may just be the rain is easing off. It definitely looks a little bit lighter out there than it did in Q1, and as progressively through the rest of this session, it has definitely gotten a little bit lighter. The track looks like it's kind of rubbering in and having a little bit of a dry line forming, which is maybe not the indication of a soft tire in the coming minutes or so, but it definitely is the indication of it's getting a little bit faster. Can Minico prove that? He's up one position. He's up 26.888, which is about a second off of P2 in UnsightedPort with a little bit of leeway, but ahead of his teammate, crucially, Daytona in P9. So, meaning this is not very safe for Aston Martin. They could have a heck of a stonker of a lap from Jared and Ardell, respectively, and they could both be out of Q2, which is going to be something that they do not wish to have, especially in their battle with Mercedes. If you go look once again at the Constructors' Championship, they are 4 points behind the Brackley team in Mercedes-AMG Petronas, and that is not what they expected over there at Aston Martin, and they want to continue that as long as possible. Right now, getting out in Q2 will not be to their liking. Well, right now they're already ahead of one Mercedes in Deer Hunter. They want to try to get ahead of the other one in Zach. Well, ironically, the closest driver on track to the start-finish line, which is right now, is going to be the other Aston Martin. Daytona is going to start his flying lap. Behind him, John in the McLaren, he's going to start his flying lap. Behind him, Zach the Beast in the Mercedes car. Once again, he's going to start his flying lap. So these drivers, they're a little bit of spacing. All 3 different Mercedes power units in Q2. Once again, the other one is being Williams, who yet failed to get into Q2 for, I believe, the, if I'm not mistaken, either the 3rd consecutive race or the 1st consecutive race. I don't know. It's kind of double sides of the spectrum there. But we'll have to go and see that. I may go look at that when I get the chance. Right now, through AlphaTauri, Bailey going through into turn 11. He's going to be the closest one on track. He's going to actually be on a flying lap. It's valid, so that's going to be crucial for him. He needs about 2/10 or so to go get the second Ferrari of Raptor and an extra about 10th and a half to get the lead Ferrari in Boss Cookie. Once again, Cookie is on an outlap. Supply Raptor is in the pit lane. Phantom's now come out of the pit lane, and Minico's gone in. So that's going to be crucial yellow flag. That's going to be Daytona, I believe, spun round at the exit of turn 13. Bailey does not improve his position. but goes up. Once again, he's on those 4-lap-old intermediate tires. It's going to be difficult to improve with that degrading rubber. Yellow flag and the exit of turn 4 down that straightaway down to 5. It looks like it's just Phantom letting... Oh, no, it's not! Phantom spun around! Oh, that was very close to getting into the barriers. Luckily, he did not, and he kept it out of the barriers there next to him and away from all traffic. Zach the Beast goes for original pole, 25.7, so it looks it does get a little bit faster out there. Zach has shown his pace once again. John going into turn 2. The McLaren is not necessarily safe. P8 on the track, 26.6. Not too far ahead of Minico and P9, and about 4/10 adrift of Daytona, and an extra 2/10 of Jared in P11. So, and these guys need to watch out for the lock up at the left front for the McLaren may not help it, but we'll have to figure that one out when it comes to the start-finish line in a couple sectors time. Going through the final corner, though, is going to be a Red Bull. I believe there's going to be Moo. Yes, it is. He's going to go and start his flying lap. He wants to try to go and take and dethrone Zach the Beast in the provisional pole spot for Q2. Once again, it doesn't matter, but Moo thinks it may help. Raptor's going to start his flying lap. Once again, getting a little bit of experience. Phantom behind him is going to start his flying lap in the Red Bull. Everyone's out on track except for the Aston Martin Minico. Qualifying is now over. Session's done. Ardell's not at the line yet. He's now done out of qualifying. P12 for the Alfa Romeo, sorry, and P9 for Minico. Bailey retires in the pit lane. He's all safe. Moo, he has a yellow flag, and looks like he may have just lost a little bit of time backing off of his lap. Cookie's retired in the pit lane, so has UnsightedPort and Bailey. So both of those guys, all three of them actually to be exact, are out of qualifying. Daytona pits from 10th position. He thinks he's safe. John once again pits as well. So it's all going to be down to Jared. Alpine, they need a great finish. And what would help if they have a Q3 appearance? They had one a week ago with Phantom, running a little bit wide, but he keeps it valid. Oh, big crash into the pit wall and pit divider. Jared does not make it into Q2. Actually, into Q3, my bad, I'm sorry. But once again, Alpine, just not necessarily where they need to be this season. Well, in this case, at all. Because I don't think the pit divider is very healthy, not only for a driver but for a car. Because aren't you supposed to have 4 wheels on that car? We'll have to see. Moo, he's going to go around the final corner, and he pits. He was invalidated. Despite Raptor, he is not invalidated. He's going to go around turn 15. He's going to try to go and probably knock off the Ferrari. Well, he knocked off his teammate in the Ferrari of Cookie. Phantom goes to the line. He goes P7, crosses the checkered flag, and is going to be done for qualifying as well. So once again, Q2 is over. Session, once again, like it was in Q1, topped by the Mercedes of Zach the Beast. This time, it was about about 5/10 faster than it was in Q1, but Q1's exit drivers had a little bit more, I guess, punch to it. Well, Q2, only 2 drivers are out, and that's going to be Jared and Ardell, followed by 13th, 14th, and 15th, who crashed out, which is going to be Deere, Taylor, and Ferrari Nut, all out of qualifying 2. Zach the Beast once again grabs pole position in qualifying 2 like he did in qualifying 1. It does not count. This does not start. This does not make the places for the race in the coming time, but Zach does once again lead the timing tables ahead of Moo, who once again, that was a little bit better than it was in Q1. He's starting to ramp up that pace in the Red Bull. UnsightedPort P3. Supply Raptor, once again for the second time in a row, goes ahead of his teammate, Boss Cookie. Bailey in P6. That seems to be where the AlphaTauri just naturally is, especially with Taylor finishing 6th twice so far in the first 2 races. Hopefully Bailey does not want to continue that streak. He wants to get a little bit better. Phantom P7, P8 for John Minico and his teammate Daytona round out the top 10. Everyone has a free choice of tire no matter where they start. Well, Jared and Ardell will have to start from 11th and 12th. Well, it looks like the rain has persisted on through Q1 and Q2, but it's gone so far. If we look at the pit lane in Q3, it may be a little bit green, the track not rubbered in because of the rain washing it away. So that's going to be a major performance indicator of how can these cars handle. The track itself has been resurfaced not too long ago. The grip is not going to be there. Well, now it's going to be even worse with a green track. It looks like the tires... Is that soft compound tires on the AlphaTauri? Yes, it is. It is soft, so the tires are now switched over. You see a little bit of rain on the camera of the AlphaTauri. So how much is it ready? We'll have to figure that one out when the time comes. It may just be of who can get the last possible second of track time and who can get the cleanest and driest track. That may be an indicator of not only pole position, but the rest of the grid. Everyone has now gone out a little bit, except for the one of the Aston Martins, which is going to be, I believe, Daytona. He stays in. Phantom, the other one who stays in the Red Bull camp. And I believe both Ferraris of Raptor and of Cookie stay in, with Port going out last as well. So it's going to be an indicator of who can get the driest and cleanest track. That's going to be the indicator of pole position here tonight. Well, pole position the last two times have been the Red Bull of MooMoo. It happened in China. It happened in Bahrain. Could we see a third straight pole position from the Red Bull of MooMoo? Go type that in the chat below. Who do you think is going to be on pole for the 2021 Season 7 Realistic Grand Prix Round 3 here at Portimao in the Portuguese Grand Prix? Put your selection down in the chat below. But also, who do you think could possibly be an upset, a dark horse pole sitter? We'll have to figure that one out. That is true. The last person to go over the line could very much get pole. All these drivers are capable of grabbing pole position, especially with the weather on their side. It could be plausible. The Aston Martin of, I believe that is Daytona. Yes, he's gone out as well. Yellow flag. McLaren has spun through in the exit of turn 15. That may be John. We'll have to figure that one out. Hello to everyone in the chat. I will be kind of tuning in every once in a while. That's not really my style to go and hover over it like some of the other commentators you may see in the Breakout Racing League. But that's fine. Everyone has their own different type of style. I just prefer to stay focused more on the racing and bring that high-quality action to you, the viewer. We have some cheers for Aston Martin. We had some boos earlier for McLaren. We'll see what team takes advantage so far. Right now, the advantage goes for Aston Martin. We'll have to figure out now how that plays out. They had the last possible track with Daytona going out with a little bit later, so they're going to have a little bit drier track. Once again, that's going to be a purple sector 2 for the AlphaTauri of Bailey. He's the first one out on track. He's going to be the first one to cross that line. So we'll see what he can do going through turn 15. Once again, the track may be a little wet. We'll see what his provisional time is going to be. Provisional pole is going to be put up in 3 seconds, 2, 1. That is a 24.3. That's the time everyone's going to beat. And that's going to be the time that Bailey would hope to improve. The next driver, I believe, going up to the line is actually going to be Zach the Beast in the Mercedes. Can he improve going through turn 14 into 15? He wants the best possible chance to prove to Neymar, his team manager, that he should stay in that Mercedes seat come the rest of the season. Well, 23.5, about 8/10 faster, may help out a little bit. MooMoo in the Red Bull. He's been on pole the last 2 Grand Prix. Can it be a third? Provisional pole does go to him. 22.6, an additional 9/10 ahead of Zach the Beast in the Mercedes. Minico, 32.8. UnsightedPort, 23.4, about a 10th faster than the Mercedes. Both Ferraris, I believe, are going through the final sector, and the only one that's going to be on a flying lap, well, correction, it's going to be neither. Boss Cookie has invalidated his flying lap. Raptors on an out lap. We'll have to see what they can do going now into turn 10 and 11. That's going to be the other Red Bull of Phantom. He was going to try to go and grab his best starting position. He grabs a purple sector. Again, the track is drying with every later lap. So how is it going to play out come in, I believe, 6 minutes time, 7 minutes to be exact? I had the yellow flag marker up there blocking that. Well, it's going through turn 15 for the other Red Bull Phantom. Once again, P7, he wants to go and try to go and beat his teammate MooMoo. 22.6 is provisional pole. Phantom goes 23.1, gets ahead of Port in the McLaren. That's going to be huge for him. The next driver to cross the line is going to be Zach the Beast. If he's on another flying lap, we'll have to see if that Merc is up to pace. He is blinking. It looks like he may not be up to flying pace. We'll have to see if he's going to go into the pit lane. Yes, he looks like he is. The next driver going to be closest, though, is going to be the Aston Martin. I believe in Daytona. He's actually spun round. That is turn 10. Before that, though, there's a Ferrari of Cookie. He's going to be one of the drivers next to cross the line. John, he's going to cross the line in a few moments' time. Actually, he just started his flying lap. It's going to be good for him. Behind Cookie, though, is going to be his teammate of Raptor. These Ferraris looking pretty rapid so far in the first 2 sessions. They want to show and kind of keep up that pace going into Q3. Cookie, provisional pole, 22.2. That is 4/10 faster. Raptor goes a 10th behind his teammate. Ferrari 1-2 in a session that they said would not benefit them. If he was speaking to Cookie a week ago, he said the Ferrari just will not, it will just be a sitting duck down the straightaway. The engine power just lacking compared to the rest of the grid. Well, so far, that lacking straight line speed is not lacking at all. The only thing lacking is a little bit of excitement. 1-2 for Ferrari. What an amazing day so far. Going through, I believe the next driver on track may be Phantom if he is going to do an additional lap. It looks like he is not. Once again, blinking of that energy deployment light, showing he is not on a fast lap. Yes, he is. He's kind of coasting in 6th gear, trying to save as much fuel and go down into the pit lane with the most caution he possibly can. Only driver yet to set a time is going to be VRA John, and the McLaren is going through turn 14, exit now into 15. Right now, it's going to be flat right, like I said, in the dry. How much flat is it so far? We'll have to see. It looks like, I didn't hear a lift in the Mercedes-powered McLaren. McLaren goes up to P4, 22.7. That's now the 4th driver in the 22s. The track is now getting drier. How far will that come in the latter stages of this qualifying session? 5 minutes, a little bit less than that now, with qualifying 3 to go. Raptor, he's going through the turn 14 exit now into 15 in a couple of seconds time. His teammate Cookie looks like he has stopped. Everyone is now in the pit lane except for Raptor, who's now coming in, and the McLaren of VRA John. Well, like I said, when I spoke to Cookie a week ago in the podium interview booth, he said that it is going to be a lot of possibilities, a lot of opportunities for this Ferrari team to make up some ground. That's what they need. Cookie's gotten 2 podiums in the last 2 races, and that is something he wishes to continue. Right now, he's sitting provisional pole, a 10th clear of his teammate in the Ferrari Raptor, so that's going to be a huge gain so far for SF1 Rose, the team manager of Ferrari. He wishes this team to do as best as possible. Unfortunately, a season ago, they were not as great due to the little bit of a nerfing of the Ferrari engine in F1 2020 season. In Season 2 of the Realistic season and Season 6 of Breakout Racing League. Well, now Ferrari has their chance. They're going to try to compete, and in the words of Fernando Alonso, now they can fight. We'll see how that fight pays out. Moomoo is going to be the first driver out. I'm not sure if I actually agree with this call from Red Bull to send Moomoo out right now. Well, he's the only one behind him that's thinking about going out. It's going to be an AlphaTauri, Bailey, and the Aston Martin of, I believe, Minico, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, go into turn 1. Who is going to be put on that out lap? Is it going to be Daytona? It's Daytona, not Minico. So, but like I said, I don't think I agree with this call from Red Bull. Like I saw in the chat from BRL Adele, who's unfortunately out of qualifying 3, he said it may just as well be the driver who crosses the line last. Well, Red Bull took it the complete opposite way. They thought if you turn the car on now, go and do some couple laps 3 minutes ahead of time, maybe they'll get pole position. We'll have to see. Maybe that does play out after all. Who knows? We'll see what Red Bull will do. They're the only drivers out on track now. As you see, a little bit more drivers going out. Boss Cookie's going out. UnsightedPort is going out. And Bailey and Daytona are going down into turn 9 into 10 in a few seconds' time. We'll have to see how that pays out. Moomoom's going to start his flying lap now in the Red Bull. And hopefully he can grab his 3rd consecutive pole in a time that really Red Bull needs to take advantage of all the points they can get. Yellow flag. That's going to be down the DRS straight. Let's see if DRS is enabled this time. But you see, there's no rain streaking down on the halo, but there is some still on that camera. Is DRS enabled? Yes, it is. DRS is enabled for this session, like it was earlier on. It was not, because of the rain streaking down in the intermediate tires. So now the DRS is enabled. This may benefit the Red Bull more, especially because the Honda-powered Red Bull is the fastest in the straight line, with a little bit of a leeway from the McLaren, who they may have compromised their setup with a little bit more downforce through turn, I believe, 6. That is going to be a slow-moving Ferrari getting out of the way of the Mercedes of Zach the Beast. Everyone seems to get on a move now. Yellow flags. That's another McLaren letting through. I believe that may be VRA John. Going down into turn 14 in a few seconds time through 13, a little bit on the curb on the apex how much does that affect the Red Bull? Going through 14 now, kind of winding out, and now it's going to be a straight shot to the line with the DRS and flat to the floor on that right-hander of turn 15. Red Bull wants another podium. They want another pole. Can they get it? Moo to the line, a 19.3. They have it right now. Will they have it for long? Well, the only driver that could possibly put a stop to it at the moment is going to be Zach the Beast. He wants a great shot for Mercedes. He wants to prove he can stay in that seat. He's going to have to find out this lap. Let's see what he can do. Boss Cookie, he's going to be behind him. Can they improve? We'll have to figure it out. Supply Raptor starts his flying wrap. Bailey in the Alpha Tauri. He's going to go around to turn 15. He wants to improve. He wants to get Alpha Tauri a good start. Well, that is about 9/10 of drift, and that is a great lap indeed. P2 for the Alpha Tauri, the Aston Martin of Daytona. He's invalidated, but his teammate behind him is about to start a flying lap. Could we see a little bit of slipstream from the two Aston Martin boys? We'll have to figure that one out. Behind him is going to be, I believe, VRA John starting his flying lap, or it may have been UnsightedPort. Going down, Moo has been disqualified from session, going the wrong way. That is not ideal at all. Not only is he now not on pole, he's now not in the top 5. Port's now ground provisional pole with a 19.3. Bailey's going to be P2. Checkered flags flowing. That's going to be the Ferrari. Boss Cookie cannot improve. He's P3. The Mercedes of Zach the Beast. He's going to be the next one to go across the final timing line. Going through turn 14. He has a prime opportunity to go and knock off the Red Bulls and prove to his team manager that he can do it, that he can stay in this seat for the rest of the Grand Prix, that it was not a mistake that he went into that seat. Can he do it? Provisional pole, 19.1. Gets ahead of UnsightedPort. Can he get it? That's going to be a big task. The Ferrari of Supplied Raptors invalidated. That is going to be a huge blow to Ferrari, what they could have honestly had. Bailey, can he improve? He does not improve his position. Raptors out of qualifying. The next driver up is going to be the Aston Martins. That's going to be Daytona ahead. Daytona is invalidated. Minico is not. Slipstream to the line. P4 ahead of Cookie and the Ferrari. That's huge. John, can he improve? P4 in the McLaren. Phantom, he's going to have a huge lap of his life. He's pretty much going to be carrying Red Bull through this session. Can he get pole? No, he can't. P6 is going to be the maximum for the Red Bull, but the only driver who could stop him, if he has enough fuel, is UnsightedPort. Did he do it? He did. UnsightedPort robbed the pole position from Zach the Beast, but once again, like it was a week ago, the pole now transfers over from the win in China. Port goes and grabs pole position here in Portugal with an 18.9, 2/10 clear of the Mercedes of Zach the Beast, who starts on the front row. Once again, this is now his second time in the front row. He wants to make sure this does not get a little bit of a kind of hampered race. He wants to get a podium. Bailey P3, his highest start so far. John 4th, Minico and Phantom 5th, 6th. Raptor and Cookie on the same row in the 4th row of the grid for Ferrari. What a disappointment for those two, with 9th being Daytona and 10th being the Red Bull of Moo, who's been disqualified for going the wrong way. Well, it's a dry Grand Prix as it was now. So how much will these drivers have to use the intermediates or full wets if they have to use it at all this session? We'll have to figure that one out. Let's go look at the race directly, what has gone on. Everyone so far in the top 10 has chosen the softs. Once again, you can start on any tire you wish. UnsightedPort has chosen the mediums. Zach the Beast so far has chosen soft. Bailey on the mediums. With everyone else so far, John, Minico, Phantom, Boss Cookie, all soft. Supplied Raptor has gone medium. Moo and Jared, 9th and 10th, have soft. Everyone outside the top 10 have mostly gone the soft tire, except for Ferrari not tweaking. And Dom the Noodle with 21 going the hard compounded tire. We'll have to see. Daytona starting 14th with his 5-place grid penalty. That's going to be a charging Aston Martin through the field right now. The biggest story, though, is McLaren. Can they get it? They're 1-4 on the track. They're first in the Constructors' Championship. So far, this is falling right into their hands, especially with that disqualification from the session, from Moo in the Red Bull. That's going to be a huge disappointment for Red Bull. They have to try to fight it back. UnsightedPort, he's going to try to hold everyone off like he did. Well, technically, he didn't hold anyone off at all. He charged and got that 15 seconds after a mistake from Moo and flew away. And that McLaren, well, he wants to do it again. Zach the Beast, though, he is the only one in the top 5 on those softs. Same thing with Cookie in 7th and Jared in 10th. Those guys are the only ones in the top 10 who are on the softs. Moo in Supply Raptor disqualified from the formation lap. They will now have to start on the grid. Their tires are getting cold. This is so far not at all what Moo wanted. At all. He's been disqualified twice in the last 5 minutes. That is not what Moo needs and what Red Bull needs. Now his tires are going to be extremely cold. Same with Supply Raptor. And both those guys on the mediums. That's going to be huge opportunities for Boss Cookie, for Jared, for Deer Hunter, who's starting on the softs, by the way. Daytona, for Ferrari Nut. All those guys on the softs. Wrathful's going to have to try to get and make a good start. In P18 on the softs, he has KP21 in the Williams in front of him on the hards. But once again, Port has to try and go repeat. Zach wants some redemption. Bailey wants a podium so bad. He's been robbed twice. John wants a great finish like he had a week ago. Minico wants a good finish. Phantom, he wants redemption at his track that he honestly thinks is his best. Boss Cookie, he wants another podium like he had the last 2 Grand Prix. Raptor Move has been disqualified. Jared and Alpine, they want points. Same with Alfa Romeo. They're 1 point behind Haas. They want that position in 7th. Deer Hunter, he wants a great redemption drive. He starts P12. He wants some great points. Zach the Beast has to be his target. Taylor 13th. He wants points for Alpha Tauri. Daytona and the Aston Martin. He wants recovery. Ferrari Nut. He wants some points. Tweaking wants points. KP21, Wrathful, Dom the Noodle, Larson Fan. They all want the same thing. They want points. Alfa Romeo. They want it more than anyone right now. They want to catch Haas, but I can tell you who wants it the most is whoever crosses the line after these 33 laps go out. Larson Fan pulls up to the 20th spot in the grid, and now we go focus on the lights and the drivers getting ready ahead of the 33 laps here in Portimao. It's a new story, a new beginning. Well, now it's lights out, and away we go. It's a nice and tentative start for everyone, and a horrible start for Zach the Beast once again. He's been swallowed up down to the turn 1. 4 wide going down to the turn 1. A little bit of contact been made between the Ferrari and the Red Bull. Around the outside of not only 1, but 2 drivers. It's going to be Ardell going up to 7th. UnsightedPort ahead of Bailey, Minico, Cookie, John. Spun round, I believe, with some driver in the back with Phantom, Ardell, Moo. Ardell's going to a great start. Phantom's going to try to go up the inside of John and down into turn 5. Minico is going down the inside of Bailey down into turn 5. Don't look now. Cookie has those soft compounded tires. He wants to take advantage of them. Side by side once again down into 7. Minico goes around the long way into 8. It's been difficult. Can they make it? Yes, they can. Minico ahead of Bailey. Cookie looking around the outside so far of this Alpha Tauri. He wants the supremacy in the Italian teams. Yellow flag, that's going to be Dom the Noodle around. Cookie goes up to P3. He's on the podium once again, like it was the last 2 Grand Prix. Port ahead of Minico, ahead of Cookie, ahead of Bailey, Phantom, John, Moo. And Ardell's gone up a couple spots. Raptor's gone down a couple spots. Zach the Beast has gone down a lot from 2nd to 10th. He wants now a rebound. He's now in P10, going to the outside of Raptor. He's on those softs. A little bit of advantage for now, but for how much longer? Down the inside of turn 15. He wants this position badly. He wants ahead of Raptor. He wants ahead of the Alfa Romeo of Ardell. They may go 3 wide to the front straight away. They will go 3 wide. That's a big crash. Big off the Alpine back there. I believe that's GRC Jared. And he's gone off and down into P19. He may have some front wing damage as well as that goes up into P8. What a chaotic start that has been. Does he have any damage in the Alpine? Look at Tweaking and Raffle. Both Haas is going on. Oh, that's very close between Jared and KP21. It looks like the Alpine does not have damage. He may have just spun the exit of turn 15. We saw that in the background. But John gets ahead of Phantom. Phantom gets back ahead of John. Those guys are battling up there for P5. Phantom gets ahead of John on the McLaren. That's huge for Red Bull. They need to get as high up and past McLaren as possible if they want to go catch up. Boss Cookie's up to P2, 2.5 seconds behind. He's now past Minico. Moo's gone down the outside, around the outside of John, and gets ahead of the McLaren. But don't look now. Here comes Zach the Beast behind him. And Zach's going to get past the McLaren of John up into P7. He wants to go get back up into 2nd. He has a long way to go. Contact made, almost spin around. Moo contact with Zach the Beast. That has been a big treachery of a corner for a lot of these guys. It was another yellow flag. It may have been Dom the Noodle again. Same corner, turn 8. Moo and Phantom side by side, and Phantom gives way to the championship leader. UnsightedPort, the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, 20.2. That is going to be a provisional lap that needs to be done by a lot of these guys. DRS has been enabled by race control. Zach the Beast, he's closing in on not one, but two Red Bulls. He needs to get around a little bit wide through one, but keeps it on the track. That's going to be huge if Zach can get around these two charging bulls with utmost quickness and precision, but he needs to be patient. Ardell down a couple spots, down to 12th. Ferrari Nut, he goes down. He may have actually had a little bit of contact. Wrathful, he's lost in a turn 1. He goes down to P19, KP21 up to 18th. Zach the Beast, once again under threat from John. Side by side, Zach the Beast gets better traction on the exit of turn 5 into 6, and the Mercedes gets ahead once again of the McLaren, but once again ahead of them, 2 Bulls and the AlphaTauri. So 3 Hondas ahead of the Mercedes of Zach the Beast. He has a lot of threat to go. Yellow flag, that's going to be John. He's around. I believe he may have made contact with Taylor. Is there contact made with him? Oh, he spins, almost spins again. Ferrari Nut may have spun and been collected with him. Taylor is involved. What is happening? Tweaking now up to 13th. Larson fan, like I said, it's been done before. He wants to go from 20th to the points playing position. He's done it. He's up into P12 right now. He has a couple positions left to go. Boss Cookie's been given a 3-second time penalty as Moo has gone up into 4th past the AlphaTauri of Bailey. Now the Red Bull has to go into pressure and pressurize this Aston Martin in front of a Minico. Moo sets the fastest lap, 2/10 clear of the Red Bull. He has to get a move on now if he wants a chance. Daytona gets up past Ardell. Moo gets closer, but not close enough against Minico, and the battles are all raging off here in Portimao. This is usually where I would break off into a co-commentator because there's a lot of action. I kind of need to take a break, but we're not going to get any breaks. Minico goes defensive. He's going to go really defensive going into turn 5, and it's going to be Moo up into P3. The Aston Martin not letting it go easily, but Moo goes from P9 up into P3 off the start. Ardell gets past Daytona in the battle for 10th. Yellow flag. That is an Alpinist DRC Jared who's around at the exit of turn 1. It's not really going well for Alpine so far. DRC Jared down in 20th and Ferrari Nut in 16th. Both had a little bit of incursions on the first opening laps. Unfortunately, they are not looking for points, but it's still a long Grand Prix. There's still about 30 laps to go in this Grand Prix for these guys to grab some points. It's going to be huge, but can they do it? Go back and look at the battle for 2nd and the battle for 4th. It's going to be a huge thing going on. Bailey right now not too far behind Minico. The DRS has been enabled, so he's going to be the opening. He's going to have the first taste of the DRS in this little train that's been getting into form. Moo sets the fastest lap at the Grand Prix, 2/10 faster than it was a lap ago. Bailey gets past Minico in the Aston Martin. That was clean and clear into turn 1. The Alpine, once again, down in 16th for Ferrari Nut. He's now looking on tweaking a 10th, now going side by side through turn 15, I believe. Actually, no, it's down the front straight away. Ferrari Nut gets past tweaking in the Haas, but up front though, Bailey gets past Minico fighting back. He's going to try to look for it, but he has a little under pressure from the Mercedes of Zach the Beast down the inside. A late braking from the Mercedes and a little bit of oversteer on the exit of the corner. The Mercedes just cannot get the traction down, and that's going to be Minico staying ahead of that Mercedes of Zach the Beast in 6th. Deer Hunter, speaking of Mercedes, he's up into 9th. That's up a couple positions from the start of the Grand Prix, 3 to be exact. Let's go look at that. For example, the penalties right now, the only driver who's had that is going to be Boss Cookie and DRC Jared. Boss Cookie now has another one. He has 6 seconds to his name. It's only lap 5. That's not going to be beneficial to him at all. The leader right now, let's go look at that as well. Position change up 6 positions for Moo in the Red Bull. That is huge for him and the Red Bull team. Up 5 for Cookie as well, but look at this. Zach the Beast is now looking to go up position. He's down 4. Yellow flag. That's going to be turn 5 again. Turn 8 again. Looks like it may have been another Mercedes-powered car in the Williams. With Zach the Beast, DRS. Minico has the DRS. Bailey has the DRS. Actually, no, he doesn't. He's going to be under threat of DRS. Minico down the inside looking for it. Side by side through 1. Bailey barely stays on track. Minico's going to look for it. Down the inside of turn 2. Into 3. Can he go for it? Better traction right now for the Aston Martin. A better line. He's going to go a little bit wide. Can he stay on track? Yes, he does. The DRS, though, is going to go to the AlphaTauri, though. Can he get it again? Down the outside. Yellow flag, and that's going to be a 3-second time penalty for Ardell. Minico goes and pushes the AlphaTauri a bit wide. That's going to give him under pressure from the Mercedes side by side once again through 6. Now Zach's going to run the outside like Minico did a couple laps ago. Minico is now up to P4, Zach to P5, Bailey down to P6. Phantom is looking at it, but he has under pressure from Supply Raptor in the Ferrari. Don't look now, Raptor's looking a little bit feisty. Bailey, though, once again, he had that train. He was leading it going into turn 1. He didn't have that drag reduction system. That's because you need to be within 1 second of the car in front in order to have the drag reduction system, the DRS, enabled to your car. The flap in the rear wing will go up, and you'll have more straight line speed and less drag as it reduces the drag, as is actually in the name. Let's go look again. The Mercedes charging hard. Zach the Beast up to 5th. He may be up to 4th if he can not say anything about it. Miniko's going to look for it. He's going to be defensive, going to be on the button. Zach is to the right-hand side, and that's going to be clean and clear down into turn 1. The Mercedes up into P4. He now has to chase after the Ferrari of Boscookie, who's actually been overtaken by the Red Bull of Moomoo in P2 now. 3.7 seconds. That's the gap between Port and Moomoo. Right now, it's going to be a little more even. If we go look at a week ago, Moomoo was falling back from Port because of the front wing damage he sustained on lap 22, I believe it was. Moomoo now going to try to fight back and show what the Red Bull can really do. Larson Fan battling for Alpha in P11 and P12. Let's go look at that. And look at these two drivers. Ardell reserving for Carbon, and Larson Fan gone up 9 positions, the biggest mover so far this session. He started 20th, if you don't remember. He just was disqualified for blocking the pit lane. Well, Larson Fan showing that was definitely a fluke. He's on those soft tires. He's making the most of them right now. Up into P11, 1.7 seconds off the points. He's going to try to go and grab that as fast as humanly possible. Daytona has been given a 3-second time penalty for multiple warning track extinctions. That's going to be huge. Phantom's now been given one as well. And yellow flag. Phantom may be actually around. Looks like he made a mistake through into 13. That now compromised his exit. Now he's going to be under the threat from Deer Hunter. He's going to look around the slingshot. Going to go wider. Zach the Beast sets the fastest lap at the Grand Prix, 19.7, actually less than a tenth faster than the fastest lap the Grand Prix set by Moomoo. Here comes Deer Hunter. The battle between Mercedes and Red Bull are fighting up. We have Zach and Moomoo. Now we have Deer Hunter and Phantom down to the turn 1. Going wide goes Phantom. He gets pushed wide from Deer Hunter and the Mercedes down the inside again into turn 3. The Red Bull on the mediums, the Mercedes on the softs. The Red Bull kind of our upper hand right now. He has that DRS, though, the Mercedes of Deer Hunter does. He not only has the soft tire, but he has the DRS. He's going to look down the inside of turn 5. Is it going to be a little bit of a move made? A little bit of RG battling for P8. Looks like the Red Bull, once again, a Phantom, will go out on the upper hand. Deer Hunter's going to look for this, though. He's been not having qualifying. He's been having to make these hard moves as best as possible, and he needs to make it now. If you go look his teammate up, 3.2 adrift of Cookie in P4. There's a lot of gap between him and between Phantom and Raptor. He needs to go close that in. He sees that greener pasture ahead of the Red Bull. He wants it. He needs it. Deer Hunter wants to prove himself not only to himself, but to Neymar. Once again, like I said with Zach, that he needs to prove himself. Yellow flag. That's going to be the Aston Martin Daytona. He's around, and that's going to be the entrance and the apex of turn 13. Not only is Daytona now out of the points, he's not having a good race for Aston Martin. He was given a 5-place grid penalty for collision with Deer Hunter in Q1. And it's just gone worse from there. The Aston Martin have to make a little bit of a recovery drive. We'll have to see how that plays out. The battle for 10th, though, Larson Fan now is in the points. 5.9 adrift of Deer Hunter, but he's under pressure from his teammate Ardell, who's under pressure from John in the McLaren in P12. He has to look for that. Larson Fan's being given a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings and track extensions. That is not good for his case. He wants these points. He's been driving like hell to get it. So far, he's been in P10. He needs to kind of keep it up for the next couple of laps with 33 total, and he's done so far 8 completed. We're on lap 9. Ardell locks up the front tires to avoid from hitting into his teammate Larson Fan, and same did John. Looks like a little bit of misbraking contact made, and that's going to be John around, cutting the corner of turn 8, and that's going to be not what he needed. He may have some damage in the McLaren, and it's not gone well for the second McLaren. And John, he had a pretty good race a week ago. It's not been the same story here tonight. Taylor, though, up to P12. Once again, he's been a little bit quiet in the AlphaTauri camp because he had a little bit of an issue going through, crashing out of Q1, qualifying P14, but due to the, I believe, actually he was not affected. Actually, no, yeah, he was. He was up into P13, I believe, because of Daytona's 5-place grid penalty. So, he's so far not moved at all when it comes to his position gains. He's gone up +1. Once again, that's still hard to do, and he's charging for the Alfa Romeo in front of him. Phantom is 2.2 ahead of Raptor, but he's closed away from Deer Hunter a little bit. Taylor's now given a 3-second time penalty, closing after the 2 Alfa Romeos of Larson and Ardell. Larson getting a little bit squirrely in the exit of turn 3 up into 4. Ardell's going to have the DRS. He's going to go look for it, though. The Aston Martin going down. He's under pressure for Ferrari nut, that is, down in 14th Daytona. But the Alfa Romeos, once again, stay where they are in P10 and 11 with the Alpha Tauri this time, instead of the McLaren like it was a lap ago. Zach the Beast, by the way, has closed in a significant amount. 1.9 to 2 second gap was 3.7. Cookie's now lost a bit on MooMoo. Not that significant, though. 1.1 seconds, almost in that DRS range, but there's not been any improvement in the battle for 5th. Bailey, one about still in that DRS, or still, I guess, stuck in the DRS train of Minico, Raptor, and those two. Yellow flag, that's going to be Deer Hunter, be given a 3-second time penalty, but that is also a car around, and that's going to be Taylor in the in the Alpha Tauri. That is not what he needed at all. So far, let me point out, I don't really know about superstitious stuff here, but there's been 2 drivers that has gone after the 2 Alfa Romeos, and both of them has ended up spinning. We'll have to figure that one out. Right now, the Aston going through Daytona, but not much about these 2, though. Alfa Romeo and McLaren side by side through turn 1, through turn 2, and turn 3. Ardell getting the elbows out on John. Is a little bit squirrely. He's going to keep it on the track, but the DRS is going to go to the McLaren of John. And that's going to be up into P11, but he's not done yet. Ardell is. He sends it around the outside, but just cannot get the traction. And actually almost loses it in the exit of turn 5 into 6. John up to 11th. And the Alfa Romeo down to 12th of Ardell. And he actually picks up a 3-second time penalty. On top of that, that's also not good. Now that means both Alfa Romeos have 3-second time penalties. Once again, let's go look at the penalty times. 6 seconds for Boss Cookie, 10 for Phantom. It looks like he may have had a little bit more of an excursion than I once thought. 3 seconds to Deer Hunter and Larson fans, 6 to Ardell, 3 to both Daytona and to Taylor, 3 to Dom the Noodle, and 6 to DRC Jared. So it's going to be a long day for these guys. The guys who stopped, DRC Jared and Wrathful, down in 19th and in 20th. Right now, these guys some have predicted a safety car. Well, we'll see how that plays out. Once again, 11 down, and we're now on lap 12. Let's go look at this, though. Larson fan moves to the right-hand side, goes defensive. He's just not going to have enough speed to get fast charging John and that McLaren up to P10 for the McLaren of John. Larson fan, once again, he's tried as hard as he can. He's been from 20th up to 11th now. He's been up 9 positions. He wants points desperately. He may be able to get them. We'll have to see as the race pertains on. The closest battle on track is actually going to be between Raptor and Minico. That gap has not really gone down much at all. About 0.3 of a second between the Ferrari and the Aston Martin. Looks like the Ferrari may be just coping well with that dirty air of the Aston Martin in front of him. Because you see, Minico has not really gained much, if at all, on Bailey. Ferrari nut's been given a 3-second time penalty, and I believe someone else got a time penalty in front of that. We'll have to figure that one out as the time progresses on. But once again, Minico under pressure from this Ferrari behind him. But unfortunately, like I said, with Cookie, as our fastest lap of the Grand Prix goes to MooMoo 19.5. But like I said, with Cookie, it's just not really going well for Ferrari, especially down the straightaway. Look at this. You see, he has the DRS. He has the slipstream. He pulls out to go to the right-hand side. He's actually going to go and make a move on it down in the turn 1. It's going to be side-by-side. Minico around the outside, but he's not going to have much charge against it. Raptor goes up to P6. But by the way, as that went on, Zach the Beast goes up in the podium positions. He's now charged and gotten the Ferrari of Cookie. Cookie down to 4th. Deer Hunter and Ferrari Nut have both pitted. That may have been the driver who's gotten a time penalty with Ferrari Nut as well. So now there's a little bit of a shuffling. Bailey's now in a Ferrari sandwich with the Alpha Tauri filling. Well, he has 1.6 seconds of a buffer to supply Raptor in P6, and he has 4.1 seconds to go catch up to Boss Cookie in the Ferrari. But right now, it looks like Zach the Beast definitely on the charge. Remember, by lap 1, he started P2, but by the end of lap 1, he was in P10. He was trying to go charge for it. He's so far gone up 7 positions from where that lap 1 incident has occurred, where he had that poor start. Yellow flag, and that may be, I believe, Dom the Noodle. Actually, maybe KP21. Remember, he started on those hards, while a lot of these drivers have said that it's just not really the preferred tire. Let's go to the strategy game time. Let's see if he goes and plays the strategy game. It has preferred a one-stop from softs to mediums. So far, a lot of these drivers are on the mediums. They may do the reverse. Zach the Beast does go on to the mediums. He's done them and taken these tires 13 laps. So that's going to be a big occurrence. Larson Fan, a 3-second time penalty. That now puts his total up to 6 for the Alfa Romeo. Not very good when it comes to who he's racing. Ardell has a 3-second time penalty. Daytona and Taylor both have 3-second time penalties. You just can't stack up many of them. But Zach and Cookie both coming out of the pits. They both are on fresh mediums. Ooh, watch out here. It's going to be Ardell around the outside of Zach the Beast in the Mercedes. But once again, I mean, it's just the pit lane exit is very tight, and it's almost a collision with those two if it was not more careful. DRS is going to go to the Mercedes, and he needs the dispatch of this Alfa Romeo as quick as possible. Ardell is going to be on the button. He's flashing. Zach's going to go down the inside. He's not going to care. And he's going to try to get the better traction, the fresher tires. He just had a little bit of snap of oversteer. Side by side like it was a couple of times going down into turn 7. Side gets ahead of Ardell. 5-second time penalty, speeding in the pit lane for Dom the Noodle. That is not going to be very appreciative to his race. They tell him a 3-second time penalty. Yellow flag, that's going to be an Alpine around. That may be Jared. Once again, turn 15 may be a trouble spot for the Alpine. Dom the Noodle has now gone on to the soft compound tires. I don't think they can make it from this point in the Grand Prix. He may have to stop again. Ardell gets passed by Cookie in the Ferrari. He's now going to try to follow through the Mercedes of Zach the Beast. On Larson Fan, yellow flag again. It looks like it may be. Yes, Jared retires in the pit lane. He's had a difficult race so far, and that is going to be it for the Alpine. Once again, they just cannot seem to grab the points. Larson Fan goes all the way to the right-hand side to the pit wall to go defensive, trying to keep that P8 to his name. Ardell's been given a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane around the outside of turn 1. Zach the Beast is going to go, and he's going to get that move done and dusted over the Alfa Romeo of Larson Fan. He's been on those tires for 14 laps, the only one who's still on those soft compound of tires. And yes, that is true. The gap between first and second has come down. Moo has actually overtaken UnsightedPort for the battle for first, and the Red Bull is now gone from his disastrous qualifying and disqualification to P1 ahead of Port in the McLaren. This is not the same Red Bull that Port chased after a week ago, because the last Red Bull he chased after, if you could put it that way, had damage. This one shows that this is not the type of time that Red Bull wants to show, and it gave that little bit of pace advantage to McLaren. They just want to go and grab that win. They tried to do it a week ago. They couldn't. Not of their own doing. It's just a little bit of a mistake from MooMoo. Unfortunately, cost them that. Port, he took advantage of it. Well, unfortunately, unless something of the same occurs, it may not happen again. Yellow flag. That is an Aston Martin way off the track. Ardell is off as well. Maybe a little bit of a collision between the two drivers. Not exactly sure what happened between those guys. The fastest lap of the Grand Prix goes to Zach the Beast, who's actually now closed down a little bit. Oh, Daytona around again. Off this time at turn 11. He keeps it out of the barriers and actually keeps it in the straight direction. A very good save. That was from Daytona, and the Aston Martin almost loses it again. This time he will have to try and correct it as fast as possible because he's not as safe this time. KB21 gets past the Aston Martin, and that is not so far a good day looking for Daytona and the Aston Martin gang. You see, the other one, Minico, been overtaken by Phantom. I missed that as well. So these guys are having a little bit of tough time. Daytona spins around at turn 15 and snapped around his tires, maybe a little bit too overheated. And Daytona's going to have a little bit of a difficult time getting them back under temperature. Well, don't look now, but that's actually the leaders behind him. Daytona goes into the box. As you see, MooMoo and UnsightedPort pass. Will be retiring in the pit lane for Daytona? Yes, it will. That is going to be a 3-second time penalty also for BRL Phantom. That's going to be the first one in the top 7. I mean, keep an eye on this battle for first. As you see, Supply Raptor getting past Bailey for P3. The Ferrari moving up positions as fast as humanly possible for him. And it's been so far a good showing for Ferrari itself. Bosco down in 9th, trying to chase after the Mercedes of Zach the Beast. Once again, he's already stopped, and Supply Raptor has not. Yellow flag on Sector 1. That's just the Aston Martin going out onto the track. It may not cause any issues, but it's, once again, we've lost Daytona and TRC Jared already so far. About halfway through into this race, it's going to be a very interesting stint. You see the top 7 has still yet to stop. I Am Tweaking and Taylor Clan have also yet to come into the box, as well as KP21. Those guys have a time to go through the pit lane. Taylor Clan, speaking of time, has a 3-second time penalty applied to his name. Again, I believe that is now his 6th second infringement. Let's go take a look at that. Penalties 13 seconds to BRL Phantom. That is not necessarily what he needs at all. 6 to Boss Cookie, 6 to Taylor. I was correct with that. Deer Hunter with 3. Ferrari Nut with 3. 6 to Larson Fan. Ardell with 11. And Dom in the middle with 8. As you go look at these two, they're kind of trying to play that game again. And you know what game I'm talking about. Do you overtake them? Do you not overtake them? Do you kind of sit with the DRS and save your stuff, save your tires, save your battery? Well, that's going to be all in the minds of UnsightedPort right now as he goes in behind Moo in the Red Bull. Phantom, speaking of the Red Bull, has gotten past Bailey. Looks like the Alpha Tauri may be struggling a bit. And now he's behind the sister car of Phantom once again. He had a great start and got up to P2 after being taken away from Minico, who's actually down in P6 right now. The battle for P5 still kind of still there, but not necessarily on the cards anymore. Minico about 5, almost 6 seconds off the Alpha Tauri of Bailey, who's actually still within that DRS range of BRL Phantom in P4. Let's go look once again at these two cats up in first and second, with UnsightedPort still chasing after Moo as Ferrari on his fresh mediums have gotten past the Haas of I Am Tweaking in the battle for P12. So Tweaking now once again has yet to stop. So he's trying to go look onto those soft compound of tire. Moo is kind of breaking away a little bit, and actually he's going to grab DRS from this back marker of KP21 in the Williams, getting out of the way, I believe, and trying to stay out of the slipstream in tow. And that's going to be the Red Bull, not only still once again out in the lead, but he had DRS. That's going to probably help him out, but actually apparently not. Looks like the double slipstream of UnsightedPort has actually gained him a couple tenths or so, but he had to use a little bit of battery doing so, now dipping into underneath the 40% range. That is going to be difficult to claw back on. You have to see how that plays out, because once again, these are the fastest two cars in a straight line. The Mercedes-powered McLaren and the Honda-powered Red Bull. These two are going to be difficult to gain much on each other. So it depends on how much did the McLaren of UnsightedPort compromise this setup, trying to, I guess, differentiate for the straight line speed and the tons of downforce required for this circuit. Like he said, it was going to be difficult to grab another win like he did a week ago in China in the podium interviews when we talked to him. But it's also going to be difficult, no matter where you are, to go chase after the Red Bull of Moo, because it's not going to be easy. Once again, the pace advantage of the Mercedes and powered McLaren and the Red Bull is still there. It's still apparent, and it's not as easy as you may think, like it would be in an equal car or something like along the lines of that. But if you go look right now, it's been kind of turned on its head. As you saw back in qualifying, it looked like Ferrari were the team to beat. Well, now it looks like it's going to be Red Bull with Moo in first, Phantom in third. But once again, those guys have yet to stop. Go look at this, though. Zach the Beast has actually gotten past John the McLaren, the second McLaren, and he's now going to have to chase after the Aston Martin Minico. But Boss Cookie still having to differentiate and gonna get past and dispose of that McLaren. But it's going to be difficult because now John is in the DRS of Zach the Beast. Is he going through? Zach's blinking, meaning the energy deployment in his store on that Mercedes is a little bit below 20%. And yes, it is. It's 18% hovering. Right now, the Mercedes is pushing as hard as he can, to get past some of these drivers and get up into the podium positions. That's what he needs to do. He needs to stay ahead of Deer Hunter. He needs to stay ahead of a lot of these guys. Well, so far he's done it. P7 compared to P10. Bosco, he's been 3-second time penalty once again. That's going to be 9 seconds applied to his race time, which is not going to help him in a battle against the Mercedes of Zach the Beast. But let's go and look up here. Supplied Raptor. He's been overtaken by Bailey. Bailey's kind of fighting back. It looks like he had a little bit of a graining phase. The Alpha Tauri did. Now it looks like he's going to try and face off against the sister car of BRL Phantom. Well, he still has that Ferrari of Supplied Raptor behind. Still not going away. Raptor is not letting Bailey go. The battle for basically the supremacy of the Italian teams, with Ardell giving a 3-second time penalty once again. I believe that is his 14th second of time penalty. I was right. There we go. But once again, the time penalty is going to play a huge part. KB21 is going to play a huge part in how the finishing results play out. Phantom has a 13-second time penalty. Ardell has 14. And you look at the likes of Cookie. He's racing a lot of these guys. For example, MooMooPort, Phantom, Bailey, Raptor, Minico, and even Zach the Beast, who do not have time penalties. Cookie has 9 seconds. That's going to be huge, and that's going to be pretty much almost his race done and dusted. By the way, don't look out. Deer Hunter is now pretty much clear to go chase after Cookie. Can he do it? He also has a time penalty, I believe 3 seconds to his name, as we go look at Supply Raptor, who's actually sporting the Carlos Sights number 55. That's a little bit of fun. Hopefully, if he gets on the podium, we may see that beautiful Spaniard going up there. We'll see how that plays out. We'll have to figure that one out. But once again, Raptor not going away from Bailey in P4. He's just trying to hang on there with the DRS. Like we said earlier on, the Ferrari a little bit down on power compared to the Honda engine and the Mercedes engine around it, and that's going to be difficult for them to overtake. Bailey heels off into the pit lane, and that's going to supply Raptor with him. Looks like the medium runners may start coming in. What does Minico do? Does he follow him in? Yes, he does. That means a lot of these guys are going to try to undercut on the guys in front of him. Moo, UnsightedPort, and Phantom all on 21-lap-old tires. But now releases Zach the Beast up to 4th. This is a huge development for Mercedes, but they still have to hold on. Look behind him. Bailey, he's on those soft compound tire, the C3s. It's the medium, it's literally smack down in the middle of the tire compound range. The C5, the C4, the C3 is what we have. The C2 also what we have, and the C1, which is on the track with Larson Fan, who serves on the hards as well. But once again, these softs are going to be difficult to, defend from. And they're going to have to take them about 11 or so laps, with maybe the plus side of 12 for some of these guys. We'll have to figure that one out as it comes to it. But once again, Zach the Beast is probably going to come out maybe around the leader. 28.6 is the gap between Moo and Zach the Beast. So where does that pit delta come in? Well, both Port and Moo are both coming in. We'll have to see what that plays out as it may. What does Port go on to? What does Moo go on to? The softs for the Red Bull, and it looks like it may be the softs once again. Yes, it is the softs for the McLaren. They're doing the inverse, the medium to soft, and that is going to be huge for their gain and their race. We'll have to see how that plays out. Zach's coming to the final corner. He's not going to jump both Port and Moo. He may be P3, though. He has to hold on. Gap the leader, 11.7. The gap behind him is around 3 seconds. The Ferrari of Boss Cookie. That's going to be pretty big if he can keep that behind. With Boss Cookie has 9.3 gap to Bailey, which is even bigger, because as soon as the Ferrari, the soft runners was actually the Ferrari behind Bailey in the AlphaTauri. Once those guys get clear, there is nothing stopping them from possibly pulling a charge like Cookie did a week ago in China. He did the alternate strategy from mediums to softs. He made it work and grabbed a podium. He wants to do it again. Well, he has to hold off Bailey, Raptor, and try to overtake Zach the Beast right now, because he will be on the podium. I am tweaking, and the Haas goes in after 22 laps on his mediums, and he was going to be, other than Phantom, the only driver who is yet to stop. Well, now he does, with Phantom being the only one who needs to stop going through turns 14 exit now. We go look at the Red Bull. Leading the Grand Prix, I believe, for the first time in his career, other than Tier 4, first time in Realistic. I may be mistaken. We'll have to figure that one out. Yellow flag, turn 8. That's a McLaren. That may be John, which is not going to help his case in the battle against him and Minico. Phantom does come in, and that's going to relinquish Moo to the lead of the Grand Prix. Port's going to be behind him, and that's going to finally put Zach the Beast up to where he's worked for ever since the beginning of the Grand Prix. But once again, he's on 9-lap older tires than the guys around him. So that's going to be huge. John's going to get a 3-second time penalty for multiple warning track extensions that will be applied at the end of his race. So, now with about roughly 10 laps to go, put in the chat below, who do you think will be on the podium? Who do you think is going to win the race? Who do you think is going to get the fastest lap? Well, let's go look at the fastest lap real quick to be exact. Well, the fastest lap right now goes to Supply Raptor in 18.383 in the Ferrari. Once he's on those softs, so it's possible for some of these guys to beat it, but he could beat it himself. KB21, 3-second time penalty for multiple warning track extensions. That's going to be pretty much everyone outside the top 10 with one. Ferrari has now another one with a 3-second time penalty once again. So everyone is on these, mostly on the softs, except for Zach, Boss Cookie in the top 5. Supply Raptors, I would put in quotation, rival here, because I think Raptor's just going to pull away from the Mercedes of Deer Hunter. I don't see the 10-lap-old mediums coming into fruition. Well, speaking of that fast lap, 17.999, Moo goes that much quicker than Supply Raptor. Supply Raptor, if he wants this fastest lap, he's going to have to earn it. Well, he has to, no better way to earn it than to beat the leader's fastest lap. Well, Port, once again, is going to be 3.1 behind Moo, already kind of falling back a bit. The gap between him and Port, Zach the Beast, that is, he's now 3.8, looking once again to try and grab his first podium of the season, even though he started on the front row 2 out of the 3 races he started. So once again, the Mercedes just looking for a better race so far. Deer Hunter down in 8th. That needs to be a little bit better for his race. Once again, crashing out of Q1 and starting in P13. So that's going to be a big thing for Mercedes, is can they rebound? Lap 1 seems to be their issue, and qualifying as well. We'll see what Neymar does in the coming weeks or so. Once again, there's a little bit of controversy going on that side of the paddock there. Well, behind him, Cookie is not much, I mean, he's not really safe for much longer. Bailey, he has those 2-lap-old tires, but look who's behind him. The sister car, the Red Bull of Phantom here. He looks like he's on the charge. Phantom, he wants this P5 and possibly even the fastest lap. Purple Sector 2 for the Red Bull. But will he take it away from his teammate? That's going to be huge. And will that mean even a little bit of team orders there? Like we saw from Valtteri a couple of races ago, trying not to get that fastest lap. Well, probably not. Probably no team orders down at Red Bull right now because they just want to get ahead of Bailey in the Alpha Tauri. Once again, Purple Sector 3, but no fastest lap for Phantom. He goes to the right-hand side. It's going to be Honda versus Honda, Red Bull versus Alpha Tauri, but Phantom's going to get ahead of that Alpha Tauri. He goes a little bit too deep, goes on the curb, and that's actually going to keep Bailey in front of Phantom in the Red Bull. But that's also going to help Supply Raptor get back into this fight in the Ferrari. The Ferrari of Supply Raptor is just looking for any possible opportunity he has to catch up to these 2 charging bulls, one of them being the Red Bull and the other one being the Alpha Tauri. They're trying the best they possibly can to get this done and trying to go catch Boss Cookie. He's now falling off about 4 seconds, almost 5 for Zach the Beast between him and Port, but Bailey's gone about 2.5 seconds faster and gained about that much time barely in the past couple of laps as well on the Ferrari of Boss Cookie. So yellow flag, that's going to be, I believe, an Alpine. No, it looks like a McLaren. John's off again, and this time he's going to lose him out on the points. He's now behind Ferrari Nut and Taylor Clan, which is huge, by the way, for Ferrari Nut. If you can hold on, this will be points for Alpine. That'll put him up ahead of Williams, and maybe even, they get the possibility, ahead of Alfa Romeo. Yes, my mind kind of blanked a little bit. And that's going to be John around again, I think. Yeah, he's having a little bit of problems, I believe, trying to cool those tires down. Spun at turn 8, I believe, for the second time this race. He's not having a very fun time. Behind him, Larson Fan. Oh, John goes a little bit too deep. Larson Fan takes advantage of it around the outside and now up into P12. Up 8 positions on the start. Once again, he started in P20. I keep reiterating that, but once again, it's just, you know, it's kind of impressive, I guess you could say. From 20th to 12th. What a drive from Larson Fan, showing what he can do to SF1 Rose if he ever will get the call up. We'll never know. It happened with Mitchie a season ago. It could happen again today. John does coming into the pits. Is it going to be retirement or is he going to keep on? We'll have to figure that one out. It's lap 27 to 33. It looks like he may carry on, try to go on the other side of softs and grab for that fastest lap. Take it away from Moo and the Red Bull. Once again, those guys may as well be a chance and their championship rival in the constructors. We'll have to figure that one out. Well, Phantom once again is kind of looking on the battle with Bailey. He's now having a little bit of a problem with trying to dispose of Ardell. Gets past it, and that is, I think, yes, it is a little bit of rain. Rain on the halos you saw through the exit of turn 15 for Phantom. DRS is enabled this time by how much longer will it be? We'll never know. Phantom's going to go to the right-hand side. Once again, it's a Honda versus Honda and an Alpha Tauri versus a Red Bull. Phantom goes wide once again, but this time we'll stay ahead of Bailey in the Alpha Tauri. So rain comes down. It's going to be For how long, though? Will it be to the end of the Grand Prix? Will it be enough for inters? Ardell's on inters. He knows something we don't. Is it already enough for inters? Is it already too wet? Well, the track's looking very wet, and it's already been a couple laps. Well, actually, not even been a couple laps, but a couple corners. We may have a little bit of a fun time here. It is intermediate conditions. Look at this. Will we see the DRS enabled or disabled? We'll have to figure that one out, but it looks like, by the looks of the track and how it's been the last couple of laps, we see more guys on intermediates. KP21, Ferrari nuts on intermediates. Ardell's on intermediates. Dom the Noodle's on intermediates. Larson fans pitting. DRS disabled. That is what we were looking for. Rain is in Portimao. Oh, around goes Bailey. Phantom goes around 2. Bailey's been given a 5-second time penalty. Severe collision with Phantom. Raptor now is up to 5th. UnsightedPort pits. MooMoo's going to lose a ton of time here. Zach the Beast is going to go in. Just don't speed. That's what everyone needs to do. Zach the Beast is in. Cookie's going to follow him in. Intermediate tires to Port. So keep an eye on our leader, MooMoo. He's out once again on slicks. He has to keep and nurse the car around. Raptor's going into the pits. Bailey's going into the pits. Phantom's going into the pits. Zach is ahead of Voss Cookie once again. Phantom gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Deer Hunter's in. He's going to have a little bit of a problem with Zach. Oh, MooMoo's way off going through into turn 6. This is going to be a huge development. MooMoo's going to lose so much time. He may even lose the win again. We have a little less than about 5 laps to go as we could hit the strike. We're going to have exactly, I think, 4 laps to go. You see right there, Larson fans on the intermediates. Look at how much time he just gained on the Red Bull of MooMoo. Taylor is going to be the last one to come into the box. He's on the sauce right now, but he's already in the... Okay, UnsightedPort, he's gained about 10 seconds already this lap. Yellow flag, that looks like it may have been a ghost yellow flag because I don't see anyone around there. That's going to be a huge development right now. It could see a back-to-back victory for McLaren and for UnsightedPort. And once again, it may have been stripped away from MooMoo again. He finally does come into the pits. And we see into turn 14 goes the McLaren. So how much of a gap is this going to do? Intermediates on. We have 4 laps to go. And actually a front wing change. That's going to put him behind Zach the Beast. We could have Boss Cookie on the podium again. UnsightedPort ahead of Cookie. I'm sorry, not ahead of Cookie, ahead of MooMoo. And Zach the Beast is going to go ahead of the Red Bull in a few seconds' time as well. You see the McLaren kind of getting out of the way. That is not UnsightedPort. That is Vera John. You see Zach ahead of MooMoo. MooMoo is now coming out of the pits. It's going to be close between him and Cookie. It's going to be very close between him and Cookie. And Cookie gets ahead of Red Bull of MooMoo going into turn 1. So that's going to be crucial for Cookie also because he wants to take the championship lead. Well, it may be a little difficult with UnsightedPort leading the race, but he's going to have to try and get this podium a 3rd in a row for Ferrari, something that they did not expect as the season began. Once again, like I said, I've reiterated this 3 times now, but Cookie said there's a lot of possibilities and a lot of opportunities going into Portimao. Well, this is a huge opportunity for guys like Zach the Beast. UnsightedPort, as right now, Port may very well get another victory on the charts once again from China to Portimao. It's been absolutely incredible so far this season. We've had some crazy races, and it's only been round 3. We've had some crazy championship fights, and Cookie, once again, he has another time penalty. That is huge, actually, as well. What is the time penalties looking like? 5 seconds to Port. He may get that removed. Yellow flag. That is going to be turn 4. That may be KP21. No, it looks like it may be Dom the Noodle. As he going through is, I believe, Bailey and Supply Raptor. But once again, the penalty's looking like 5 seconds to Port. That may be removed at the help of the stewards. But once again, 12 seconds is the gap between him and the Mercedes of Zach the Beast. 1.9 is the gap between Zach the Beast and Cookie. But he has 12 seconds of time penalties. 1.1 is the gap between Cookie and MooMoo. MooMoo is going to pretty much be guaranteed P3 here, but can he do it on track? Raptor is 12.2 behind, ahead of Bailey by 6.5, who's actually not that much clear of Deer Hunter. Deer Hunter doesn't have DRS this time, so there's no drag reduction system. There is no chance of him getting him this straightaway a little bit too far back. There's still enough time, though, in the coming laps. We're going to be on the penultimate lap next time. 5 Phantoms been given another 3-second time penalty, 21 seconds to his name. That is going to be crucial. He may be out of the points if it this continues. We go look at the gap to the leader. That's going to be pretty much helping us with the penalties. 21 seconds with Phantom. That's going to put him at 57. Well, that'll put him out of the points. Actually, it'll put him in P10. So that'll be a second point for Ferrari and for Alpine, which would actually get him ahead of Alfa Romeo, which is what they need in Alpine. Well, the gap between Moo and Boss Cookie's gone down a bit, as you see the battle between Raptor and I'm sorry, not Raptor, Deer Hunter and Bailey. But let's go look at the battle for the podium. Yellow flag. That is going to be the Red Bull, I think, of Phantom. He's down, and that's going to be surely him out of the points, which is going to be helpful for Larson Fan. Because now he's now in the penalty window. Taylor's not going to be in a 3-second time penalty. It's now 9 seconds to his time. Let's keep the penalty screen up because everyone else is going to be on intermediate tires. Let's go look now. 0.7 of a second between Moo and Cookie. Yellow flag again. That's going to be turn 4. That is going to be, I believe, an Alpine. That looks like it may be a Williams. Yes, it is a Williams. I believe that one is Dom the Noodle. We'll see Cookie once again now closer and closer to Zach the Beast. 1.1 seconds. Is it going to be enough time? Yellow flag again. That's going to be the same straightaway. Looks like he's gotten back going, or maybe Dom the Noodle. But we're going to be on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix this time. We're going to be on the final lap of the Grand Prix next time. It's still a lot of time. There's still 15 corners plus about, let's see here, 9 from right now. So we still have about 24 corners left to go here at Portimao, and you saw how quickly the weather changed. It was a couple corners, and all of a sudden, it was pouring down. So, Cookie now has to chase after. He's now within the quote-unquote DRS range of Zach the Beast, but once again, it's not activated, so he doesn't really have much, and that's another 3-second time penalty. 15 seconds, the gap between him and 15 seconds the gap from his race director time, I guess you could say, with 15 seconds applied to his time. Go look at the gap between Moo and Raptor, though. 14.7. Right now, that'll put him 15.2, maybe 15.3 seconds behind Boss Cookie. We could very well see a flip of the Ferraris here. He's now going to the final lap of the Grand Prix. We're on board with Cookie. He's now going to try and go for this move with Zach the Beast. Zach the Beast looking for his first podium and going to be tying the best finish for Mercedes. Mercedes finished second at Bahrain. They want to do it again. We're going to see 0.4 of a second. He wants this podium. He's going to get it unless something happens this lap. He wants it on track, though. He wants to be past Boss Cookie and the Ferrari. Going now into turn, I believe, now 7. The leader is UnsightedPort. It's going to be a close finish for P2, 3, and 4 on track. Off track, it may not be as close as that may presume. Wrathful, 3-second time penalty. That's going to be 3 seconds. He's going to be everyone outside the top 10 from Phantom on down does have a time penalty. But let's now go to UnsightedPort. Going now into turn 14. We may miss the battle from 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, but we'll have to see how it plays out. We saw from China, we saw a lot of opportunity from McLaren they took advantage of, and that seems what they've exactly done here today. They said it was going to be difficult. Port said himself he may not even expect to win. Well, guess what? UnsightedPort comes around turn 15 to win in a very weather Grand Prix here in Portimao, going through now into turn 15. It's going to be for the first time this season for Mercedes is going to be a second time total. Zach the Beast will get P2. Cookie on track will be P3. Moo comes across the line P3 after what could have been a very successful Grand Prix victory, but just not on time with the strategy. Boss Cookie grabs P4, 14 seconds adrift of the leader. Supplied Raptor, is he close enough? Is he going to take his 10? No, he's not. 5/10 adrift. Bailey, I said it in the beginning. I said Bailey is going to look better and trying to get better than 6 like Taylor did, well, for the 3rd straight Grand Prix in a row. That is a AlphaTauri finishing 6th. Bailey ahead of Deer Hunter. Minico, he's going to grab 4 points to his name. Ahead of Phantom. 21 seconds of penalties. That's going to put him well out of the top 10. Phantom now has a 5-second penalty for unserved penalty. It's already been applied. Ferrari Nut and Alpine finally grab points, and that's going to be huge for their day. Larson Fan, 27.5 is off of the car in front, which was Ferrari Nut at the time. Can it be another point-paying position for Larson Fan? He did it in Bahrain. He grabbed 1 singular point in a 10th place finish. He wants to do it again here in Portimao. Is it going to be close enough? No, he's not. Driver of the day is rightfully so Larson Fan from 20th to 11th. on the grid, up 9 positions, and what a great day from Alfa Romeo. But no one can top the great day from McLaren once again. UnsightedPort back-to-back. That was not only at China, now it's at Portimao in the wet. Well, 3 rounds down and 20 to go, and it's already been a heck of a season here in the Breakout Racing League Realistic tier. UnsightedPort grabs his second victory and easily the championship lead, I believe, with 50 points going in to round 4 at Spain. Zach the Beast going to be his first podium for Mercedes, and that's going to be the second overall. Mercedes needs to grab a hold of what is happening so far in their qualifying and lap 1. So far, they made a good job of it tonight. Moo gets P3 with Cookie P4, Supply Raptor P5, Ferrari 4-5 after what could have been for them. Bailey P6, Deer Hunter P7, Minico, Ferrari Nut, and Phantom round out the top 10 like a week ago. Mitchie grabbed P10. Phantom does the same thing in the second Red Bull car. Is it cursed? We'll have to figure that one out the rest of the season. Larson Fan, once again 11th. Taylor 12th. John Ardell tweaking KP21. Wrathful, Dom the Noodle. We lost Daytona and DRC Jared in the Portuguese Grand Prix. All right, let me get the podium sitters in the party now. We have Zach, and believe we have UnsightedPort as well. Yes, we do. So whenever we go to you, gentlemen, please click the box to include your audio on the stream for grabbing your podium position. We're going to wait on Movement. There he is. And we're actually, if any of you can invite Larson Fan, that'll be pretty much appreciated. We can grab his driver of the day as well. If not, that is fine. Nope, okay. I guess we're not going to do that then. Let's go to P3. Moo, make sure your box is clicked whenever I go to you, which is actually right now. So, once again, just like China, it seemed to just not materialize with about the second half of the Grand Prix. The rain coming down instantly, and it looks like just the wrong time, wrong place at the wrong time for you and your Red Bull pit garage.
Yeah, so Jeff told me at the start, okay, Jeff the whole race was telling me that it was going to like 10-15 minutes, and then he kept upping it. So when it started raining, he instantly said to go to inters, but the track was still like somewhat okay. So then, as they came up to the third sector, it was still somewhat drivable. And then all of a sudden, the second I passed the pit lane, DRS is disabled for inters. And it was undrivable after that. And then going to the pit lane, the car just got a random snap and it lightly tapped the wall. Gave me a bit of damage, so I had to change my wing. I tapped the wall ever so slightly. So.
Well, that little tap may have completely derailed your entire race, which is very unfortunate. I'm fairly sure
if I didn't tap that wall, I think I would have won off the penalties because Port speeding penalty. I lost 5 seconds in the I lost 5 seconds in the pits from the wing change, and I was only 8 seconds off again. So.
Well, hopefully you can rebound it, because it's now a week from now we go to Spain. That's definitely a track that's going to probably benefit the Red Bull over the Mercedes. So could you possibly see yourself up on that podium, if not the winner's trophy, going back to Milton Keynes a week from now?
I think so. Yeah, Spain is a track that usually decent around. Overall, the track is hard to overtake, so you can just hold it on straight. Red Bull is quick around there, so.
Well, I mean, it's not the position you wanted, but it's the position you got instead. But once again, congratulations on your podium. This is P3. It's your second podium so far this season, and I know it's not necessarily what you wanted, but it's definitely, I guess, it's good enough, right?
I leading the standings. I don't know. Or
no. Well, let's go to P2. And what a story this has been for Mercedes. It's definitely not been a positive one, if you could say. So Zach the Beast into P2, your first career podium in Realistic, and your first for Mercedes. That is definitely a big step up, and an otherwise, so far, abysmal first 3 races for Mercedes.
Yeah, I could say that I was in part of Neymar for Bahrain and China. It did not go well. But going to Portimao, I did have big confidence in the car, confidence in my pace, and I knew with the rain, I knew I could be up there, but in quali, gave me a little confidence boost going in the race. I had to go for softs because I knew I was going to get that garbage start, which indeed happened. But I had fun getting my way back up there in the P3. I thought we was going to settle there until, unfortunately, mistake happened, and I was able to get that P2. Yeah, congratulations, Port, on the win, and I'm glad that I got Mercedes your second podium this season, and hoping to be many more.
Well, hoping is definitely the word, because, I mean, if you've listened to what I've said so far this stream, there's been so many uncertainties so far, not only for Zach, but for his teammate Deer in Mercedes, but once again, P7, I think it was, or P8 for Deer Hunter, and it's just not necessarily what Mercedes needs, because they're trying to take the fight to Red Bull. Well, they're not the team to do it. In fact, they're actually the second highest Mercedes team, behind McLaren. That is not necessarily what they need. Well, this brings me on to you. Spain, a week from now, could you possibly take that chance and go and grab another podium, put Mercedes back on the map, because they're just falling behind McLaren with every passing Grand Prix?
Yeah, I'll try my best to do that. I'm not really that good at Spain, but with as much practice I did for Portimao, I think I could be up there again for Spain. But something I do need to improve on is those starts, man. Whew.
Well, not only you, but you and your teammate Mercedes and Deer Hunter. So it's going to be something that is not going to be taken lightly here at Mercedes. It's going to happen, and it's going to have to be improved like now. So we'll have to see. Once again, congratulations on your first career podium. And second for Mercedes total. Not necessarily for you, but for now the second career for Mercedes so far this season. It's not been right, but at least you kind of picked that one up here today at Portimao. Now, finally, we go on. It's almost like an occurrence for you now. I mean, you've been here 2 rounds because you missed Bahrain, but you definitely picked it up front. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, you should have the championship lead, because I believe it was 35 points. You have it by 1 point?
It's fastest lap.
Okay, well, I was off. Okay, so I was off. You're second in the championship, even though you've been here for 2 rounds, one round less than Moomoo, which is definitely a huge success for a team that did not expect, like you said a week ago, you didn't expect to win here. You said you would be happy with the top 5, even a podium. Well, you got the win.
Yes, sir. Let's go. Yeah, quali. I'm almost as proud of quali as I was the race. You know, pretty dominant in Q1 and Q2. Just bankers get enough for top 2 each time. Yeah, and then Q3 came, and I did 2 laps in a row on those soft tires. Yeah, fueled it up just a little bit extra, and I saved a bit of ERS on that first time to make sure I could really use it all on the second lap, and got pole position, baby. You know, GG's. I basically copied Lando Norris from real life this year. You know, getting pole on dry tires on a wet track, and then the race came. But you know, I actually had to listen to the radar and stuff. You know, pit. Yeah. Just kind of locked it up on entry to the pit. Thought that was going to be my race over. But then I saw that I was catching... Yeah, I caught Moomoo like a corner after I pit and while he was still on dries. So when I passed him again, I was like, yeah, just GG's. And I just, you know, didn't crash on my way to the finish line. And 2 in a row, baby.
yeah, that's something that, I mean, you even said yourself you didn't expect, and
No,
I can
no,
pretty much
not
hear
at
it,
all.
the glee, the glee and enjoyment on your, just, I mean, protruding from, I mean, the way your tone, I mean, you could definitely see that was, I mean, last week was high-pitched and kind of like it is now, but it's one thing to have it for winning a Grand Prix, but win it back-to-back in a race that was difficult, not only for yourself, but for every driver on the grid, that is even better. Well, now, if the top teams, because of the downforce, it's going to be a lot more downforce, and it's going to be just like, ironically, the track after that in Monaco. Well, seeing how you do next week will be a prime implication of the week after that. So where do you see yourself at Spain, and where do you see McLaren as a whole at Spain?
Spain's going to be interesting. I feel like I'm going to have to smack way too much downforce on that car to get it to actually go through the corners. And there's probably not going to be enough straights for me to do anything. So hopefully a top 5 there. I think Ferrari are going to have a pretty big advantage over us. That's really who I'm concerned about. It's really fun beating these top guys, but I'm mostly just concerned about keeping ourselves ahead of Ferrari. Yeah, and then Monaco, I don't even want to talk about it. If I get a point there, that's a win. That's like my worst track. So.
Well, it's going to be difficult the next couple of weeks. We have Spain, we have Monaco, and I believe we have Azerbaijan. So it's going to be some fun racing here in Realistic for the Breakout Racing League Season 7 campaign. But that's pretty much it from here. Myself, Hikatra, and UnsightedPort, Zach the Beast, and MooMooMlk at Portimao and the entire Realistic grid. We would like to say thank you, congratulations to our podium sitters, and good night.